My name is Ocran, and I'll be sharing some thoughts that were inspired by developments across the world that suggested that in a few years, some jobs, some industries will not exist anymore. And even more scary was the fact that some industries, as we know them, will be so radically transformed that we will no longer recognize them. My presentation is entitled The Future of Work. The Future of Work. Someone will call it the future of jobs, but I'll just keep it simple, the future of work. What inspired me to go beyond just discussing this on radio to actually researching into it? I met a very brilliant, intelligent, resourceful executive in a multinational organization. And she said to me, I've reached the limit. And I said, what does it mean? She says, my career has plateaued. And I said, in my geography class, a plateau is a place you climb, you reach there, and then it's flat. You don't climb again. She said, that's where I am. I said, how do you know? She said, I went through a kind of assessment, and I was told that considering my skill sets, my ability, my aptitude, and everything, I've peaked. I said, what does it mean? She says, it means that if I want to reach my next level, I need to do something about my ability, my understanding of issues. I said, whoa, how many of us in this room are at that place where you feel that maybe nobody has told you, but you suddenly feel that the level you've reached in management, you have plateaued. It's almost like this dog that is trying to bite a particular piece of meat and has craned its neck and reached the table and stretched the tongue and is just 3 inches away from the meat. And no matter how much the dog stretches, still can't reach the meat. It's almost like sometimes your best efforts seem to fall short of where you want to go with your career. The second category, apart from those who may have plateaued, is the development that came up slightly in Franklin's presentation about the penchant for business process reengineering among businesses that are seeking to remain efficient, to seek to remain productive and to grow. You will find that in every business that wants to endure, there's a discussion taking place about how can we be more efficient, how can we work better, how can our processes be more effective. And so many companies are going through business process reviews, re-engineering, to strengthen them and make them more responsive to their environment and also make them more cost effective. As a result of this process, you will find, you mentioned Amazon.com. They are currently doing a shop without attendants. Now that means that if your whole career plan is to be a shop attendant, or that's what you are doing now, the new range of shops have no attendants, and it's been pioneered already. You will find that companies are looking at themselves and saying, do we outsource this function altogether? Why bother to do it when we can outsource it at 1/3 of the cost? And it's a reality, and I'm sure Amma in her breakout session will speak to that as we talk about HR. Why bother to do it when we can outsource it at 1/3 of the cost? Because cost management, and it's a reality, and I'm sure Amma in her breakout session will speak to that as we talk about HR. Why bother to do it when we can outsource it at 1/3 of the cost? Because cost management, and it's a reality, and I'm sure Amma in her breakout session will speak to that as we talk about HR. Why bother to do it when we can outsource it at 1/3 of the cost? Because cost management, and it's a reality, and I'm sure Amma in her breakout session will speak to that as we talk about HR. Why bother to do it? That came upon the virtual university as we began to prepare for this year's theme. And this theme is not a theme for just the Festival of Ideas, but within the group, it's our theme for the whole year. That means it applies to our teenagers conference, our youth conference, as well as this business conference. And so as we are preparing, we began to interview business leaders, asking them a question. If you had 30 staff, and in the future you would have 10, what would you look for in the 10 that you select? And it was very insightful as you observed commonalities between the answers of it's our theme for this very simple question. It sounds simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Conference as well as this business conference. The hypothetical question: if you oversaw a function with 30 people and you had to select 10 to remain and 20 to go, unfortunately, what would you look for in the 10? Or let me put it differently. If you were part of a team of 30 playing the same role and they said they were keeping 10, will you be in the 10 that will remain? And if so, why do you think you will be part of the 10 that will remain? And that is a subject that is driving, or the question that is driving the second part of this discussion, how to remain instead of be let go. The third one is that if those who are in the job are already insecure, how much more those who have come out of university and are looking for jobs? They should be looking at what is it that will help those who are already in to remain in. Akusia, that's fair and relevant, isn't it? So if you are outside and you are coming in, and those who are inside are going out, you must ask yourself, what does it take to get in and stay in? So these thoughts will apply to somebody wanting to move from the middle management level to the top management level, because the skill sets at the top are different from the skill sets in the middle. The second person who will benefit is somebody saying that, listen, even if my organization downsizes and they want only 2 people, I'll be one of them. What does it take? The third beneficiary, not on a large scale, but ultimately, is somebody who says, well, I'm now fresh from school, about to enter the job market. I need to understand what this is all about, just so I make myself more relevant. And so, in the maze of all this, you can see that there is a bit of uncertainty, keen competition for every assignment or role, because for whatever you are doing, there's somebody who wants your job, and sometimes they actually tell you that they want your job. I remember last year's Festival of Ideas, Kwaku Bedodo had made a point earlier that the first day he walked into his bank, he went to the MD and said, I want to be MD. Tell me what it takes to be MD. And I said, Kwaku, that was suicidal. And he said, no. Vishnu Mohan sat me down and gave me the pointers. And I took them and I followed them and I became MD in 10 years. And he showed me the notebook he had written the points in. So I threw the question last year to the CEOs who had gathered. Will you be offended if a member of your team walked to you and said, I want to become CEO shortly. Tell me what it takes. And so let me ask you again, would you be upset if somebody's looking at me like this? If somebody in your department walked to you and said, I want your job shortly, tell me what it takes. Will you be upset? Oh, come on, speak the truth to me. Will you be upset? It's not as straightforward as it sounds. Because, but that was the question. Many of the CEOs present said, well, we wouldn't really mind. We'll tell them. Based on a research done by the World Economic Forum, we distilled 10 keys to career relevance in 2020 and beyond. The first time I heard these 10 keys, I was the keynote speaker at the University of Ghana's congregation. And I was about to climb up and speak when the Vice Chancellor stood up, ostensibly, not to introduce me directly, but his comments before I speak. And he said, this presentation that is coming is relevant because the World Economic Forum just released a report in a conference I went to that listed 10 things that will stand you in good advantage in your career in the year 2020 and beyond. And the moment he said that, I took out my iPad, forgot about my own speech and started writing down the 10 things and the source of the report, and I was more interested in it. But halfway through my writing, I lifted up my head to look at those who I thought needed it most. And to my utmost dismay, some of them were actually taking selfies with their kapi. Because the graduation picture was more important to them at that point than the 10 things they would need to remain in their careers in the year 2020 and beyond. Of course, right after the event, first I got the Vice Chancellor's script from him, and then I went on to research into that report, combined with another report from Deloitte, and began to do extensive research into what every employer would look for in people they would want to retain if they have 30 and they want 3 or 10 or 5. So you will find this helpful as you assess yourself in your own career. The first one is complex problem solving. Ms. Abaji will tell you that in the course of running a tough organization like she works in, you are dealing with issues that are not just pretty straightforward, and they don't also come linear. Like one comes, you take your time, you finish it, first course, and then the second one comes, second course. They almost like they go for a conference and decide, let's come in multiples. And so while you are solving 1, 2, and 3 are jumping on your neck. And so the executive who will survive in any firm is the one that has the capacity to deal with multi-dimensional, complex issues that are shouting very loud at the same time. You will find that the point of entry is important, but beyond that point, what really stands you in advantage, especially as you climb from the middle belt to senior management, is your ability to solve complex problems. The second one is critical thinking. Every issue or problem that presents itself has often got more to it than what shows up initially. So who is behind this? Who benefits from this? Rudyard Kipling said, I have 6 humble servants who taught me everything I know. They are who, where, how, which, why, when. Simple words, but they open up a plethora of issues. So critical thinking is being able to garner different pieces of information and digest them to get a better understanding of an issue and to be able to work with that issue. So people who tend to have an advantage in their careers are people who are able to ask those critical questions to be able to get a better understanding and have an advantage. The third one is creativity, related to Franklin's point earlier on about innovation. I want to believe that for every manager here, if you asked 3 of your staff to present a report and one went a step further beyond what was required, what Mr. Waji called the higher ground, to give you an executive summary and to give you some background information that you didn't ask for but which gives you a better perspective, you will let that person be your favorite because they always are ahead in what they give you. It's called value-added service. So the one who is creative, the one who adds more value to their work, will always have an advantage. The fourth one is people management. It has been proven that executives that are unable to manage people, do not rise beyond a certain point. So it means you can be very good, celebrated, technically very astute, but if you don't manage people well, you can't go beyond some point. Experts say that the higher you rise, the less the focus on your technical ability and the greater the focus on other things that you did not even school for, but which are essential. In our world, very often, a teacher who does well must become a head teacher. But a head teacher, the skills required to be a head teacher or a headmaster or headmistress are very different from the skills you require in teaching math or geography or chemistry. And so the higher you go, the more other skills begin to be relevant or required for success in your work at that level. So people management is important. Very closely related to people management, but very different, is coordinating with others. Every head of HR, every manager will tell you that there are people who are, I stand alone. They are perfect working alone, but they just can't connect with other people. They just can't coordinate with other people. It happens in football, it happens in banking, it happens in entertainment, everywhere. There are people who work very well as standalones, but cannot coordinate with other people. That can also be a disadvantage as you try to work with people to create success in the organization. The sixth point is emotional intelligence. Interestingly, in the World Economic Forum reports, they looked at the 10 career relevance requirements in 2015 and then the 10 career requirements in 2020 and beyond. In the 2015 requirements, emotional intelligence was not mentioned. There were 2 of them that featured in 2020 that were not mentioned in 2015. And that means that now, more than ever, the branches under emotional intelligence are very critical for your success. First one is knowing yourself, self-awareness. You must know yourself, what you are good at and what you are not good at. You must know where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses lie. You must know yourself as a person. Don't take on things that you have no clue about and not get help in doing them. Know what you can do very easily and what you need to put in extra effort in. If you are like me and you require additional preparation, don't do last minute. There are people you can call them off the cuff and they'll be fine. But I want to take my time and prepare very well. I don't want to be embarrassed. I like detail. So know yourself is number one under emotional intelligence. The second one is regulate yourself, control yourself. I try to describe it in corporate language and I fall short sometimes because corporate language can be very technical. My best description of self-regulation came from my friend KSM, who says his mother was the expert in emotional intelligence before it got a definition, because she would say, "Kweku, come and let me beat you." He said she won't even shout, "Kweku, come and let me beat you." I mean, how many of us will call our children like that and say, "Come and let me beat you"? Hey, come and let me, come. And at the end, you're asking yourself, who is in charge? Is it the child or the parent? Because the parent is so hyper and the child is so relaxed. "Kweku, come and let me beat you." That's self-regulation. The third pillar under emotional intelligence is motivation. That means that a great leader, as you rise beyond the middle belt, must be able to motivate people, get people to do what they ordinarily may not have wanted to do or may not even think that they can do, but because they are challenged, rise above themselves, and that is very important. The fourth key is a key that is so essential and yet often so understated, and that is empathy. Empathy. People who are disconnected from the way people feel. So you call the person and they said, there's a story told about a pastor who was a very great preacher. And so he had an auto response. He preaches so well that when he stands at the exit, when people get there, they say, "Pastor, that was a nice sermon." His response was always, "Very nice, very good." "Pastor, I love the sermon. Very nice, very good." "Please give me the response." "Pastor, that was wonderful." "Oh, Pastor, I like the point about mercy." "Pastor, I lost my husband last night." Very nice, very good. Because there was no connection to that particular person's issue. And sometimes as managers, you call the person, "Where is the key to the safe? Where is this?" And the person says, "I'm sorry, I lost my loved one this morning. So where is the key?" There's not even a minute to pause and say, "Who was it? Is it close? How are you feeling? Are you alone? Is somebody with you? Where is the key?" The key is important, but the person who has lost a loved one is also important. And we can't build an organization only on keys. Hello. So managers who are not able to empathize, connect, and appreciate the peculiar issues of people that they work with often rise to some point and get stuck. And it doesn't necessarily mean dropping the standards of excellence, but it just means having a more listening ear and appreciating peculiar situations and being able to respond. The final one under emotional intelligence is people skills. Knowing how to work with people and how to energize them and appreciate them. The seventh requirement that will keep you in your job in year 2020 and beyond, and also help you to rise to the highest level, is judgment and decision making. Again, it's one very tricky one, because when you face a brick wall, you face a difficulty, you face an issue. It is an obstacle. Elsie, I hope there's no compliance bit in this. But sometimes you need to go under the wall and come out. Sometimes you need to go over the wall. Sometimes you need to break through the wall. I'm not talking about breaking rules. I'm talking about obstacles that prevent you from achieving your goals. How do you know when to break through? Discretion. When to go under. When to jump the hurdle. That requires skill, judgment, sound judgment, discretion. And the person who is able to make quality choices consistently would always rise within an organization. So we've done 7 out of 10. The 8th point, the 8th quality, service orientation. I saw a picture of Richard Branson serving on the airline, his own airline. And he was doing it with great joy. Some say Branson is a showman, so let's excuse him. But it's been proven that when people are service-oriented, it permeates the organization. When at the very top, the person at the top connects with the customer, internal customer, external customer, and really looks forward to giving them what they need when they need it, and is paying attention to their issues, the subordinate finds it easier to also do same. So if you bang the phone on the customer, please don't be surprised that your staff will do it pressed down, shaking together, and running over. And so in a restaurant chain in Australia, Subway was doing what they call the 1 foot burger, which means that instead of 6 inches for, let's say, $1, you pay $1.20 and you get 1 foot. 1 foot is always 12 inches, according to compliance. 12 inches. So everyone was, just like buy one, get one free in Ghana, everyone was queuing in their numbers until one person bought that 1 foot burger and pulled out a ruler. That person was a regulator and measured. And the burger was 11 inches. And all he did was post that picture on Facebook. It went viral, and within 24 hours, 144,000 people had posted their own issues. Think about it. I'm now straight into compliance. So the restaurant had to respond and to bridge the gap between 11 inches and 12 inches, which is 1 foot, and apologize for the variance, the negative variance, which may not have been intended, may have been an issue of oversight or whatever, but which is an issue you can't ignore. A service orientation simply says, what I promise, I must deliver. And as was rightly said in the last presentation, it applies to a big company, it applies to a small company, it applies to a conference, it applies to a product. What we promise, we must deliver without fail, and we must deliver robustly to make our clients and our stakeholders satisfied. The 9th point is negotiation. I find that many people see negotiation as bargaining. Negotiation is being able to reduce the price of something, just get them to reduce it, and that's all. But it's a bit more than that. It's bringing deeper understanding to a discussion. It's bringing an exchange that benefits both parties. It is knowing when to introduce dimensions to a discussion or debate that raises the stakes, helps people to understand well what is at stake. A discussion can be held and concluded with both parties not even clear about what was being discussed or what is at stake, and yet conclusions will be made and signed. Negotiations like chess, playing the game with understanding, timing, precision, so that both parties come out with what is called a win-win outcome. And that is very important. People who know how to negotiate rise within their organizations. The last one is cognitive flexibility. Like Franklin said, a big word to use early in the day like this. Cognitive flexibility. The work of every leader, every manager, every person in an organization involves not just big things, but small things, varied things. And so I'm talking to my friend who will be speaking on the sales and marketing, Gladys, and she will tell you about the time when you have to be in Makola, interacting with the vendors there to understand the pricing issues in the market, and the next day or the next hour you are in corporate board meeting. So we had a radio discussion with one of our partners during the Springboard Roadshow. One of our partners heavily represented here, and we had a discussion on radio, a scheduled discussion, advertised discussion on radio about our partnership for the event. But the person that was supposed to be with us on radio had to be also respond to some very critical issues to her CEO just before she left for the scheduled radio interview. And when your CEO calls you, how can you say, I'm going to do radio? Especially when it's a very pressing issue. So she had to do the meeting with the CEO. We kept calling, she couldn't pick, and she finished 5 minutes or 10 minutes to the scheduled interview. We went in knowing that she won't be able to make it. Just when we were being introduced, the person walks in, takes a seat, and we go through the interview, and we're wondering, how did she get in there? When we finished the interview, we said, so how did you come? She did this. That means she came with a motorbike. Now, my mind went to the fact that this is a person who just stepped out of the boardroom talking to the CEO and realizes that in 10 minutes' time she must be live on radio, and jumps onto a motorbike or behind a motorbike and then gets to the station on time, does the interview, probably goes back with the motorbike, and then goes to another equally important corporate engagement. For some other people, the beautiful side of our job will be the part that we enjoy, but the part that involves getting our hands dirty, doing the tough, grit, that type of work is not nice. People like that often don't rise to the highest level because they are only there when it is nice. When they are required to stretch and do things that they see to be below their level, they don't find them that exciting. Let me conclude by asking us to help me. I'm the son of a teacher, and so she taught me that way, that in concluding, let the class tell you what they learned. So with all respect, kindly help me walk through the 10 points to be sure that we got them all. What is number 1? Complex problem solving. Number 2, critical thinking. Number 3, creativity. Number 4, people management. Number 5, coordinating with others. Number 6, 6A. You see, 6A, self-awareness. 6B, pardon? Self-regulation. 6C, motivation. 6D, empathy. 6E, as a young pussy, you do all. All right. 7, judgment and decision making. 8, service orientation. 9, negotiation. And 10, cognitive flexibility. Somebody will ask me, so do I need all this before I get promoted from middle management to top management? I don't have the answer for you. I won't even try. But I can tell you something. Every one of us has a bit more of one than the other. I can just imagine somebody saying, listen, I don't need any form of research or assessment to tell me this. I know I am good in this and I'm weak in this. It's called self-awareness. You know yourself. So the areas where you are weak, you need to work on them. But one thing is certain. These are not things that you can cure in a day. So my concluding quote is from Robert Collier, who says, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Small efforts. So there's one thing that I found out working with the janitors on our compound at work. I take time to ask them their name, their spouse's name, their children's names, their birthdays. And really, it doesn't take anything away from me, who I am and the position that I hold. But I find that when I see them and I say, happy birthday to your son, they're like, whoa! Sometimes the parents have themselves forgotten. And just for that, they think, oh, he cares. He connects. It's not big things alone. It's about paying attention to these things deliberately, meticulously, and applying yourself in small efforts every day. And I'm sure that next year by now, when we meet at the Festival of Ideas and do a review of a year before, you will say, as a result of this engagement, you are a better manager, a better leader, and who knows, maybe you also have been promoted. Thank you and God bless you.